Hey guys, Dave here. One of my favorite comfort foods is shepherd's pie, but it's one of those dishes, once you've had it, you've had it. Not much changes. So I decided to do shepherd's pie with a real twist. I'm going to do some French onion shepherd's pie with several other twists. You are going to love this, so stick around and let me show you how to do it. First off, our ingredients, we got some potatoes, some cheese, onions, Swiss cheese, ground beef, oil, butter, mixed veggies, flour, salt, pepper, Worcestershire sauce, some Italian seasoning, beef broth, and some thyme. Okie dokie, the first thing I'm going to do is the boring part. I'm going to grab up some spuds or some potatoes, three fairly large ones. We're going to peel these up. And we'll slice them up so they cook faster. And we'll get them into some boiling water. Next up, we peel some onions. So I'm just going to cut these into, I guess, medium-sized slices. Just something like this. And then we're going to ring them up. And what I've got here, about three or four medium-sized white onions. I mean, it seems like a lot of onions initially, but once you start to caramelize, it doesn't amount to a lot of onions. Now we got the old pan heated up over medium-high heat here. I'm going to go in with a couple of tablespoons of unsalted butter and just swirl this around. I don't know, it might be more like 3 tablespoons, but that's fine. And let this melt down. And a good shot of oil just to stop that butter from burning. In with those onions. Oh, it's going to start smelling really good really fast here, my friends. Bit of salt over the top, and that helps extract the water in the onion. And we're going to stir these around and fry them just for a few minutes over high heat, just until they start to wilt down a little bit. And it's only been, 2 or 3 minutes here, and you can see how we had a big pile of onions, and they're starting to go down really fast. So, like I said, it seemed like a lot of onions to begin with, but it's not really. And, it's mid-October now, and the boat coming out next week. Kind of sad. I mentioned that last week in our Gravy Lovers Meat Potato video, and go back and watch that because it was a really, really good dish. But anyway, November's coming up, and it's my least favorite month because nothing happens in November. Not here in Canada, anyway. I know in the States, you guys have Thanksgiving. You're lucky, but I don't know. It's the month in between Christmas, and it's the nothing month. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Our onions are looking pretty good here and begin to cook up. So I'm going to reduce the heat to medium-low. And we'll just let these cook away low and slow. That's the cook there. That's the secret of the caramelized onions. For about 20 minutes until they begin to caramelize nicely. Well, those onions are frying up, and ooh, doggies, they are smelling good. I've taken my potatoes and rinsed them, and I'm going to throw in a good knob of butter, I guess about a tablespoon. Follow that up with some good old milk, a tablespoon or 2 of that to start with. Season them up with some salt. Fairly up to you how salty you want them. And a good lacing of ground black pepper. You know me, I just love ground black pepper, so I'm going to use quite a bit here. Actually, I like it to show in the potatoes. And the secret to my smashed potatoes is some garlic. Garlic is a must in mashed potatoes. Let me know what you think. Grab up the old potato masher, and a mashing we will go. And I want these fairly creamy because I'm going to go, I could have riced them, I guess, but that's okay. You can if you like. I'm going to go over the top of that ground beef to make our shepherd's pie. I think you want them something like this, guys. If you want them a little bit creamier, you can always go ahead and add more milk or more butter, but this is pretty good to me. It's going to spread nicely over that ground beef mixture, but stay tuned for the secret between the ground beef mixture and the potatoes. I'm caramelizing my onions. Sweet caramelize. Bloop, bloop, bloop. After about 15-20 minutes, we are nicely caramelized up here. So I'm going to just shove these to one side of the pan, and I'm going to add in a pound of lean ground beef. It's actually not lean, it's medium ground beef, but that's fine. And I just shoved everything there, the onions to one side of the pan here, guys. Something I can never figure out is a lot of cooks take this and set it aside and put it in a separate bowl. If you're going to use it anyway and it's all going together, why not just, you got a big enough pan, just shove it to one side and cook it all together. That's my way of thinking anyway. Anyway, we're just going to fry this off until it's basically no longer pink and cooked through. Okay, we are nicely browned up here and smelling ever so good. So something I'm going to do is throw a couple of tablespoons of flour over top here. And that's going to just thicken things up, grab up any of that grease. And now we're just going to mix everything together, something like this. Now, can you see, guys, how this is starting to come together? Is a French onion shepherd's pie. A lot of you folks across the pond are probably saying, oh, it's done with lamb. It's not done with ground beef. Yeah, I know, but I just had ground beef and I didn't have any lamb. I think this is gonna be just about as good anyway. But let me know. A lot of people say the shepherd's pie was initially British, or it was Scottish, or it was Irish. I don't know about the history of it. So if you know, drop a comment below and let me know. I've always been curious about that. All right, it's been about a minute with that flour. So now I'm going to go in with a cup of beef broth. Let's hear that sizzle go away there. And of course, for that depth of flavor, a couple of teaspoons of the good old Worcestershire sauce. And while that's simmering, I'm going to go in. A lot of people are going to say, what? I know, with about a teaspoon of Italian seasoning. Totally optional, but, it's good and I like it. So, up to you. A little bit of garlic powder. I guess we could have sauteed up some fresh garlic, but the garlic powder is fine. And, of course, some of that thyme fresh from the garden. You can use dried thyme, too. That's absolutely fine. A little bit of salt. I don't know, maybe about a teaspoon, depending on your saltation tastes, and some of the old ground black pepper. And of course, you can always adjust the seasoning the way you like it, or, add some more, whatever you like. Give everything a stir around, but you can see how this is beginning to thicken up now and look so, so good. We've simmered away and begun to thicken up. I am going to add in about a cup of mixed frozen veggies. And if you have fresh, by all means use those, but frozen is just good enough for me. Now you can see how it's beginning to look like shepherd's pie. Now we are just going to kill the heat, and we are ready to build our shepherd's pie. But doesn't this look absolutely stunningly fantastic, guys? I've even impressed myself. It's time now to build our shepherd's pie. So I'm going to go into a casserole dish with that meat mixture. Ooh, this is looking good. Thick, creamy, rich, yum. Something else I was thinking, guys, in my small brain here is that you could do this in one pan. If you had a cast iron pan, my smaller pan's on the boat, but you could do everything in there. You could, and just build the potatoes on top in the cast iron pan and just stick it into the oven. But in this case, I'm going to put it into a casserole dish and be really fancy-dancy. Now, remember I said we're going to do a variation or a twist to this, and this is my very own idea. You're not going to find this anywhere on the internet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take some slices of Swiss cheese, and I'm going to go over top of that meat mixture. And then, of course, what we're going to do then is we're going to add the potatoes over, and this Swiss cheese is going to fuse that meat and potato mixture together and make it ever so yummy. Yeah, you could use grated too, but I just like the slices. They're so handy. Something like that. And you could even add more if you like. What I've done here, guys, is I've doubled up on the layers. I got 8 slices of wonderful, yummy Swiss cheese over top of that meat. Now it is time to spoon up that potato mixture. It's been sitting on the stove over warm, and we're going to go over top of the Swiss cheese. Remember I said this is going to fuse the meat and the potatoes together? And I'm sure that is going to work. It's going to smooth this out a little bit. I don't want it too much because I want it to look a little bit rustic. But let's see what we can do here. Now, next up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some old sharp cheddar cheese, and I'm just going to kind of lay it over the top just in places, because what I want here is I don't want it to cover. I just want it to marble into those potatoes, and just get that nice, wonderful, cool effect there. So this isn't very much, just enough to kind of marble in there. And I think that's going to marble in just nicely. Then I'm going to go over and sprinkle a few breadcrumbs just to get that little bit of a crunchy effect. Totally optional, but it's up to you. Now, please, you people across the pond, don't be offended and say, oh, this is not cottage pie. It's terrible. I can't watch any longer. Well, it's just a variation of it, but I think it's going to be so good, so don't be going away because we're going to bake this, and the proof will be in the pudding and the taste test. Now we are going into a 375-degree preheated oven for about 20 minutes just so everything bakes together and gets warm. After about 20 minutes, we are bubbling and smelling ever so good. I bet you this is going to be absolutely fantastic. I'll bet you any money. And what we're going to do now is garnish this up with, believe it or not, some thyme. I was new parsley. My cameraman suggested thyme, and he is absolutely right. Fresh thyme over the top. You can do parsley too if you want. And I'd be thinking we throw a sprig or two on the side, something like that, just to be all fancy-dancy. And that's kind of it, guys. The French onion shepherd's pie, but don't be going away yet because we do have some tips and tricks and the official taste test. Okay, guys, a few tips and tricks. You could add some Gruyere cheese. That would add, that little extra bit of flavor. You could add a splash of red wine to the meat mixture, which would add a little more depth. Change the seasoning up the way you like, the creaminess of the mashed potatoes, whatever you like. When this sits overnight, I bet you any money it is gonna be so good because that depth of flavor happens overnight. But go ahead and adjust it the way you like and leave some comments below. But, I just love the look of it. Let's grab a spoon and dig in here and just see what we have. Oh, just look at those potatoes, that meat mixture, and look at the Swiss just coming down right there. Oh, does that ever look good? Wow. All right, it's time for the old taste test. My goodness. This is about the best shepherd's pie I've ever had. Those onions, that Swiss cheese, it really did fuse together, that meat mixture and the potatoes. Oh, this is so good, guys. You've gotta make this. I can't, come up with enough words to describe it. Not that hard to make. You are gonna love it. And if you do make it up, leave us a comment because I love to read them. Most of all, like and subscribe because it does help the channel out. Go back and watch our other videos because there's all kinds of good stuff there. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay safe. And of course, I got to have more of this because it is so good. And we'll see you in the next video.